Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, peak performance coach, Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Bamboo Lab podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian. And this is an interesting story today of the guest that we have on, because this guest, we just became friends on Facebook like 2 or 3 months ago. I probably requested a friendship, and we have a lot of mutual connections. And then we were kind of reading each other's posts and memes and stuff we were putting up. And we reached out to each other and said, hey, how about a virtual coffee? Now, folks, I've never done virtual coffee in my life. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds great to me. So we did, maybe 3 weeks ago, we did a virtual coffee, talked on the phone for probably an hour. And during the course of that conversation, I'm like, this lady is iconoclastic and unique. And I have to get her on because this is exactly what all of you like to hear, is people who are doing amazing things, but doing it on their terms. And that's exactly what we have today. So Carolyn Nolan, my new friend, welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You've never been called unique before, have you?
Oh my God, never. I'm like, wow. I'm just like everybody else, but not trying to be unique, but it just keeps getting that unsolicited from different people. They're like, you're kind of outside the box, huh? I'm like, I guess. I've been away from the box a long time.
I would almost call you unfiltered. Unfiltered a little bit.
I'm definitely unfiltered. I'm very much unapologetic, so much so I tattooed it on my arm, just so in case I forgot. And I think that would actually be kind of fun for us to touch upon today, even in part, because I think it's a very misunderstood thing too. Of like, does unfiltered and unapologetic mean you can like say whatever you want and do whatever you want with no consequence? I'm like, oh, no, that's not what that means, actually. So that would be kind of fun for us to touch on.
I'm all about that. Like I shared with you before we started recording, probably not going to go through all the questions. I think you and I have enough kind of chemistry in our conversation that we can just talk about any subject and just roll with it. We might rely on some questions. I don't know. I'm going to rely on the first one because I really want the audience to get to know you. So can you share what you'd like to share about us, where you're from, a little bit about yourself? You take it from there.
Yeah. So you called me a lady, which makes me feel like 110 years old.
I called you a lady?
You think you said like I talked to this lady. I'm like, who's the lady?
Wait, I'm like, say broad.
I'm like, is someone else on the line? So I am a young mother. No, I'm not. I'm always going to say I'm young. I tell all of our clients too, like anytime we're talking about young people, like of course us. So I'm a mom of 3. I have an 8, 11, and 13-year-old. I'm a hockey mom, which means I live in really cozy clothes that can be layered with blankets and jackets. And I now wear my new puppy as another blanket and thing of warmth in the rink that they tell you is not allowed in the rink. And I said, well, rules are just suggestions unless it has to do with safety. So puppy joins us in the rink. That's where we live. I'm the CEO, visionary, private wealth advisor. I personally don't work with clients anymore directly and now lead our team of nearly 20, mostly women. Not because we're against men, but there's something really special when you get the right women in the right room together, working on the same stuff. I am located in the burbs of Winchester, just north of Boston. I grew up south of the city, which if you're from Boston, you know, like going over the Zachem Bridge, you might as well be going to like Maine. I'm like, you want me to go north of the city? My husband, soon to be ex, I'm in the middle of getting divorced, which is not so fun, but I guess half the people listening can probably relate. And let me think. I studied psychology and Italian in college at Georgetown, so obviously I became a financial advisor. That's just what you do, right?
Well, you have a pretty interesting pedigree. What was interesting, folks, is we did our virtual call 3 weeks ago. What is your dog's name? Coop?
Cooper.
Cooper, that's right. And I remember that because my ex-girlfriend's pup or dog is named Cooper. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what's funny? I was rucking on a trail in Marquette, Michigan, well, over the last couple of months, and I do this trail like 5 or 6 times a week. And I kept running into this guy, then a lady, then they're together, and they have a big old lab named Cooper. So I've got to know I've known 3 Coopers in the last like 4 months.
Yeah, there's a lot of Coopers. It was like the one name that stuck with my kids. I tried to make him Tater Tot, didn't stick. So I'm gonna have to get another dog.
Is he still tearing up papers in the back?
He loves cardboard. Nope, he's currently snoozing, but he'll likely join us if he starts hearing papers. But nope, currently sleeping. It's too bad it's not on video. He's pretty stinking cute.
Well, we're gonna do one on video, you and I, when in 26 when I go to YouTube.
Yes.
So, in fact, you're the first person. I think I told somebody, whoever I was connecting with your firm, that we will do this one audio, but you'll be one of the first ones we do video in 26. So
I love that. Well, like half of how I speak is I'm half Italian, so like there's a lot of hands moving. So getting me on video is a whole other dynamic. But you can probably hear my facial expressions. I'm very expressive, except when I like just get Botox. It's a little tighter. No, I'm just kidding. Not kidding, but kind of kidding.
Okay, so I have a question for you before we go further. So I've called women ladies before, and some people have actually been offended by that. And I know you weren't, but what is a good term? Woman?
Not broad.
Not broad.
Dame. Not broad. So this broad, dame, no, I don't know. I think it's probably more, I think you can almost say it more like with a tone, like this lady.
Oh, a little sultriness
a little more playful. Maybe. Because then you can kind of take it how you want. No, there isn't, well, even with my friends, like I'm 44, almost 44. This month is my birthday. But I don't, I even when I talk about my girlfriends, it's girlfriends. I'm like, I can't be like, we women. Like, women are like 40 years older than us. We can't be women. We're just girlfriends. Girlfriends. I know. Yeah. Girl code. I don't know. I went to an all-girls Catholic school. That's also my background. So there's something just really special that happens with women, I think, especially when you do, there you go, women, when you do, as girls, connect at that age when you're otherwise like, you're still super awkward, but you're way more unfiltered when it's just the girls. But it'd be funny, like someone would come into school, all girls Catholic school, kilts, you name it, and someone would come in with makeup, and you're like, who are you seeing after school? You always knew when someone was up to something. But it was cool to be an athlete. It was cool to be smart. It was cool to be whatever you wanted to be. And that was like a really neat thing to be exposed to at such a young age. So
I know you've done some interesting things in your life, and you are obviously doing more and more. And it seems to me, based on our conversation and getting to know you, you're kind of always looking for that next step in the evolution of your life and your practice and your business. And what was it, or who was it when you were younger that inspired you to be this person today, of this kind of always looking to grow?
I don't think there was like one person. I think it's like constant exposure to just different people's stories. So even you brought up this question, and the first thing, honest to God, that came to mind, that I wrote myself a note, and I just started laughing when I wrote it down. As a kid, I used to get in trouble by reading in my closet at night when I was supposed to be in bed, and I was reading, because this is like when you're 12, I was reading the Babysitters Club series.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought it was really cool that these group of girls would get together and start this business, and they're running it out of their bedroom. But they were also like talking about like their teenager things, and they were just being girls, but they were also running a business. And I think that was something that kind of early on just resonated with me. And it's not something I've thought about maybe 30 years, but I was like, oh, that was something that like first peaked. Like, I've always been an entrepreneurial person, but I never thought of myself that way. And it was actually a wholesaler in our business. On some wholesaler meeting, they came to my office and they're like, oh, wait a second, I think I get you. You're an entrepreneur that just so happens to be in financial services. And I was like, jaw dropped, like, holy shit, this person, that's the first time someone just like saw it. Like in our industry, because I think in our industry too, people like people really try to put people in boxes.
Yeah.
And I just fell into it. Like I wasn't seeking it out, and I'm still here, and I love our business, but I also, there's so many things in our business that bother me, and that I can't help it but to try to fix it. Like not just for me, like in our team, that's a lot of what we do. We just make things better. Like there's something screwed up and we're like, there's got to be a better way, but there's a reason there isn't a better way. It's really freaking hard to solve the thing. And that's what we've been doing a lot of, which no one sees, but that's been like really fun. So that's part of what we have next, is starting to share a lot of these, like, it's not rocket science, but like practical tools and ways of engaging people beyond their finances in ways that like really stick. So like, you know, our industry has the reputation, like people want to go to their advisor as much as they want to go get like a root canal. Like it's not like an exciting meeting for a lot of people. But frankly, I'm like, with the right advisor and conversation, this can be some of the most exhilarating conversations you can have. It's not just talking about what I might do someday and how do I do it. It's all those things. I'm like, how can that not be one of the best meetings? But I think a lot of advisors were never taught. I know we were taught to be salespeople.
You were taught to be salespeople, or weren't?
Yeah, we were taught to be salespeople.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know how anything worked, but that was our background. That's how the industry worked at the time. And so no wonder a lot of advisors with the best of intentions are just kind of subpar. And that's the elephant in the room, and no one will say it. And I unapologetically will say that I see that.
Is that word
I don't
again?
even think it's their fault. I know. And I don't even think it's their fault. So I think it's pretty neat to think about the opportunity of, like, again, being able to engage people in really exciting conversations of what they want to do, and without filter. And that's, again, that unapologetic. I think that most people, and we see a lot with women because we see it a lot with just our teammates. And like, even just a lot of my role within the team is now mentoring, like my clients are more my teammates. And I'm kind of, I don't know if I'd say like the coach or the, I don't know, whatever. Call me Ted Lasso. Ha! I love that freaking show. But my role is inspiring confidence and action and positive action. And it was for clients, and now it's for our teammates. So they can then 10x do that with all the clients that we engage. But I found that a lot of women especially have a really hard time saying what they want. And what often happens is they'll say, like, even if I'm talking to a teammate about what they want to do, like in their role, or what they imagine what their role could evolve to, and they'll start saying something, and it's almost like when they start getting excited, they fold back, and they're like, but I'd be willing to do this. Like, it's fine. I don't need too much. And I'm like, whoa. Like, no one gets harmed. There's nothing wrong with saying what you want. You're not saying you're entitled to it. You're not demanding it. You're just like dreaming and like playing and like trying on. Like, even like, think of like a really expensive store that maybe you feel like way out of your league, and you're just like trying stuff on. And like, you see if it feels right. And sometimes you go in, think of like even like like you're going into like a car dealership. Personally, I could give a shit about cars. Like, it doesn't excite me. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were saying, like, if you had unlimited resources, what car would you buy? And I'm like, I'd probably have the same car. Like, I don't care.
Right.
It's just not my thing. Yeah, like, I just don't care. And that's some people's thing. But my point is, like, what is something that is like your thing? And it doesn't have to be money. It could be also like freedoms associated with time or purpose or who you get to hang out with, and or all of the above. And just to like marinate in that. And I think that never mind clients or teammates, but advisors, professionals, I don't think like almost anyone really gives it a consistent focus. And instead, what oftentimes happens is we get shoulded to death of what you should do. And it started like again, for me, I was at Georgetown. I was reluctantly, from my parents, a psychology and Italian undergrad. They're like, what happened? I started as a bio pre-med, and they're like, whoa, what's happening here? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And I fell into this. And frankly, like, for anyone that doesn't know, like, you don't need to study. And I tell every college student, I'm like, just study what sounds exciting for you. It doesn't freaking matter.
Right.
Like, you're there to just like grow up and explore. It's just as impactful to know what you don't want to do as much as it is what you do want to do. And frankly, I don't even think you know what you want until you experience. It's kind of like when someone talks about when they go on like a bad date. I'm like, a bad date is just good data. It's not a bad experience. It's not, oh, I shouldn't have gone on that. That was a waste of my time. It just gave you good information, and hopefully you can just have a good time, even if it's not the right thing for you. The same applies to like when you have a job you don't love or a class that you take that isn't your favorite. What's the good you can get out of it? So a lot of my perspective in life is just how do you make whatever you're doing as good as it can be? Because there's a lot of crap that's going to happen that's totally out of your control. A lot misunderstand that with me as like being just kind of toxic positivity. And I'm like, whoa. That's not what I'm saying. But instead, when you're in a situation, right now I'm in the middle of a divorce. I've witnessed it with my parents. You see it in others, and you're not happy that it's happening. That wasn't the plan, but how can you like really trust that there's going to be something, not that's even going to happen in the future, but right now that's happening, that's serving me, despite this bad thing that's resonant that I'm witnessing right now. And I found it just gives me incredible peace. That's like the biggest thing I feel like I've learned as life has gone on.
Do you think, because you talked about the divorce and this, do you have and I recognized this a few weeks ago, you have a very realistic yet positive mindset of the direction you're going. Do you find that when you're going through, we all know the things. I study Stoicism. I'm a big fan of Stoicism of, we don't control what happens on the outside. We only control what's in our mind and heart. Mm-hmm. Do you find that there's a period after a turning event in your life, whether it's a disaster, a catastrophe, or just something negative that happens, a divorce, financial scare, whatever, breakup in a relationship, do you find there's a period where you can't quite grasp that philosophy? Like you still can't go, I know I should be feeling this way, that it's all a lesson and I'm going to come out better than this. I can only focus on how I react to this. That I find there's like a month time frame after something happens to me, 3 to 4 weeks, where I can't convince myself that I've got to wallow in it. I got to feel sorry for myself. I've got to cry. I've got to run from it by doing, extracurricular, like running harder or working out harder or reading. I have to do things to get my mind off it. Then it clicks like, okay, now I understand that was a lesson. Now I can work on me handling the change in my life and how I react to it. Do you find that, or right away, or you're like, nope, I get it. I'm sad, but I know I can control my inner self on this. Does that make sense? Did I phrase that right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the part that like sometimes people misunderstand with me, because they only see when I'm good. Like when it's not good, I'm not hiding, but like for me, earlier this year was dark. Yeah. It was really dark and spinning, and like social media in those times, and politics and all that shit like doesn't help. I'm just like, whoa. And I know for me though too that it sometimes has to be an internal experience, that like I'm not looking to get the perspective of others or their feedback or reassurance. And sometimes you just need to kind of beat something up and do your own purging. I know for me, I just kind of get sick of it at some point. And I'm sick of feeling sad. Right. Okay, let's go and start with one thing. And I almost 4 years ago now engaged a coach. I sought out an accountability coach because I've never had like a real boss. And I'm like, oh shit, I really could use a boss, or like someone that's asking me the question, what did you say you're going to do today? Did you do it? And it calls me out on my stuff. And my coach, Lindsay, I found her through a friend of a friend of a friend. And it's not even what she does, but she's like, this is interesting. That would be cool. And she's become a friend over the years. And even more recently, because over the summer, I moved out of my house in June into a new place. And like, if anyone that knows me, I do a lot of real estate stuff. And I need another house. Like I need a hole in the head. But that's just like, here we go. And 2 days later, got a puppy. That sounds like a really smart thing to do. But this dog has saved me emotionally. But the cool thing in the process, what I found is that often I almost need to be full stop to actually witness what I'm feeling, thinking inside. And one of the questions you gave me that I love is the kind of what advice would you give your younger former self? And I don't even know if it's like advice per se, but someone said to me, this isn't my original idea. All the answers that you're looking for, you already have inside.
Mm-hmm.
You already know. And I think that we often just get ourselves busy or numbing, whether it's busy with work or the gym or our family, or for me, I do a lot of stuff with crazy real estate and interior design, because it's more like a really expensive art project. That's what I do for fun. Expensive hobbies. But I find that I would just busy myself to not feel. And it just required just like slowing down. But in order to speed up through like the sadness, the grief, the confusion, it was required of me to slow down and just stop. And it's the hardest and like best muscle, I feel like, in the really shitty experiences of life that I now can think back to and see, like, you know what, Carolyn, like the best thing you do is say, no, can't right now. Trust that it's temporary. I've been calling this period of my life the Twilight Zone.
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, it's not good. It's not bad. It's very Twilight Zone. I'm purging every part of my life, but with intention. And I think what's really empowering is, again, doing it with intention instead of when we were younger. Like, fortunately, I had some amazing mentors in our industry and otherwise, and I was just dumb enough or smart enough to do what they said, and it worked. But then, like, at different chapters of your life, like that's almost there as a guidance, but you need to start looking within of what is my internal monologue telling me, and then kind of testing that. Because what I found is that a lot of stuff, like, I had thought many years ago, but I just dismissed it. So trusting yourself, like learning to trust yourself, I think is a really amazing muscle to work on.
And that's hard to do when you're going through a difficult emotional situation. Because you're I mean, you know, one of the things that you ever watched, were you a Seinfeld fan at all?
No, not really. Like parts.
All right.
No.
Well, there's a famous episode where George Costanza does the opposite of what he would ever do. And he finds a girlfriend, he gets a job, you know, everything works out for him. And I wasn't thinking of this, but when I went through a breakup a few months ago, I was in a dark space. And typically when I'm going through something challenging, I had to look back on my life and say, what did I normally do? And which was normally, I'm going to spend a ton of time with friends. With that, probably more alcohol consumption. I'm going to kind of let go of my core, what I call my conscious living activities that I do on a daily basis. And I track those things. So I could look back on a chart that I've carried for years. And I know, oh my God, look how bad I was back then. And so I kind of did the George Costanza this time. I did the opposite. I spent a lot of time alone. I put alcohol completely out of my life. I really started working out at eating better. And I've always been a good eater, but I mean, I just kind of took everything that was good to the next level. Reading, you know, journaling, exercise, you know, nutrition, and spending more time alone, which was the scariest damn thing I've ever done. It was scary to be alone, like not physically alone necessarily, but emotionally alone, mentally alone, where I had to stop and really let the stench of my life catch up to me. And that was terrifying, but my God, has it been rewarding. I've never felt stronger in my life. Literally, I'm 58 years old. I've never felt stronger in multiple capacities. And it was like that. It was right there. I had to, like you said, kind of trust myself a little bit. And so maybe whoever's going through a challenge, maybe look back at what you did before and just do the opposite. I'm not saying that's my advice, but it worked for me.
Yeah. And I mean, every situation is different. And I think it's good to just, I know I found it really helpful to look back, like, and on some journals that I would only maintain when there was really crappy things happening in life, and just being like, okay, you went through that. Like, here, we're fresh on how that felt. And you got through that. So, like, I think the biggest thing that just chills me out when I'm totally losing it is just saying to myself, it sucks now, but this is temporary. Like, this is temporary. And guess what? Like, so is when it's good. So when you're in something good, instead of being freaked out it's going to end, it's like, just revel in it. Don't be it ultimately comes down to, how do we get to being present?
Yeah.
Because when we're present, we're at peace. And otherwise we're just regretting things of the past, or we're worried about the future. And that's like all the, I've been recently studying universal laws, and I wasn't seeking it out, but it's just really cool as I've gotten into different circles, as life has gone on. I just follow what sounds interesting for me. And, I've engaged in different groups. There's this one group called Wayfinders. We go on these wackadoo trips around to weird places around the world. I was in Laos last year. Like, when the hell else am I going to go to Laos? And you go on these trips and they give you a packing list, and you don't know where you're staying, what you're doing, how many different places you're going to stay, who's in the room with you. You know nothing. So it is like the ultimate giving up control for like type A entrepreneurs. So it's all entrepreneurs. You don't talk about business, which is also super cool. Because
Really?
it's the first time I've really gotten to know the people and not their business. Like, even months and months after the trip, but some were like, what do you do for a living, by the way? Like, I don't even know what the hell you do. But it was so awesome, because typically we go to these group meetups and it's the first question and it doesn't come up at all. It was more like, so are you like, do you want to go to the pool, or do you want to just like go meditate, or do you want, like, we're more talking about what are your interests and your hobbies and stuff like that, which is really neat. And I found as life has gone on, like, it's just been really important and necessary also to maintain like healthy relationships with people that I've had forever and ever, but as I've evolved in different ways and they have, to make new friends. And it's not to say like you replace your friends, but like to have different people that serve different parts of your life and your interests, I think is just like a really healthy engagement. But it requires, and it was actually in Mel Robbins' newest book, The Let Them Theory. And there's a part that she talks about adult friendships. And I was just laughing listening to this, because it's like suggesting, and I do this all the time with certain mom friends, like I met in my town when we had little babies, and you end up being default friends because your babies are the same age. And then as time goes on, you oftentimes find, okay, our kids aren't friends, so then we don't end up being friends, and we probably wouldn't have been friends anyway. It's not bad. But there's other people that your kids aren't friends, they're not even the same age, but you recognize, I think we have a lot in common. And it's almost like asking women out on dates. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, do you want to be friends? Do you want to go to a concert? But it requires someone doing that, because until, like, I don't know, your whole life up to a certain point, your friends are all just like put next to you. Like, you don't really go out of your way to make them.
Yes,
and as
college,
adults, like,
high school, work. Yeah.
Like, think how many people their best friend was their roommate that they were randomly assigned to, or the person on their sports team. That you're just put in a room with people that you're interested in. But there's like so many cool people in the world. And now with the way technology is, and even you and I we're totally just like, oh, I like your thing. I like your thing. I like your thing on social media. And I'm like, you want to get virtual coffee? You want to be friends? I think we like the same stuff.
I know it.
And it's like, and it's totally innocent and not creepy, but some people don't get it. And I think it's so fun when other people you find are like also open, but it requires just someone to initiate that. And then it's easy. You just have to open your mouth though. And I've made like some of the best friends in the last, I'm going through this really crappy stage in life. It's very unpleasant. But I've also made some of like the best friendships in the last year that have like happened like pretty seamlessly, because I'm just in circles and in communities with people that we like the same stuff. So it's like I had to seek out those things and be engaging in the things I like to do, and then you meet more of those people. But it's it's just really interesting.
I think one of the things we don't realize, especially with the way media portrays people, all media, that there are so many amazing people in this world. Like we see the bad stuff on TV, and obviously, if it's if it's bleeding or whatever, if it bleeds, it leads. Yeah. But I think I've done 163 shows on this podcast. We've only aired 158, but this is number 159. But that's the thing I've learned in 4 years of doing this is the people are amazing, and like you and I connecting, you're only like one step away from meeting an amazing person. And you have no idea, like up until that moment, you didn't even know they existed. And then either through social media or a group that you go to, whatever. And if you just put yourself out there a little bit and talk to them, you're going to find, even people who you disagree with on things, you're going to find 99% of the time, maybe not, maybe 92% of the time, you're going to find an amazing human being on the other end of that. And that gives hope, I think, like when you meet new people and connect and build friendships and relationships. I just think there's something that, to me, it has been the most optimistic part of my exploration these last 4 years is that, oh my God, we have nothing to worry about. Our world is filled with really cool people. We just have to
just
get their
together.
stories. I like what you said earlier about, and I wanted to bring this up. When I asked you what or who inspired you, and you said the stories about, it was a lot of people and their stories. And I think that's the key. When we learn other people's stories, I mean, there's always a connection. There's always something that they're going through that you did, or that you're going through something they went through, or there's some type of connection, tight or loose. And when you hear that, you realize how similar we all are in so many ways. We all cry. We all fart. We all laugh. We all sing in the shower.
Poops, Brian. Everyone poops.
Everyone poops. And when you get to know that person, you realize that they're not a facade. They're not a danger. They're not a threat. They're just people going through shit like we go through.
Yeah.
And I think that is just, I think there's something magical about just connecting with people. And that's, I was listening to a podcast while I was running this afternoon or this morning, and they talked about social media is overall a net positive. And there's a lot of negative shit on social media, but the net positive is we can connect with people from all over the globe and get to know them, hear their stories, learn about their culture without traveling. Now, traveling is better, yes, and talking to them on the phone or face-to-face, much better, but at least it's a glimpse into lives across the planet. And I think that is really what we need more of. We need some of that, whether it's a loose or a tight connection. We just need more connection.
Yeah, well, and that's where I think, like, even when we talk to clients about financial products and people ask, what do you think about this? I'm like, I don't think anything is bad. It's all about, there's sometimes bad recommendations for people, or there's bad uses with different things. And the same thing with social media. It's literally as recent as yesterday, talking to a friend about this, who is like, I think, Carolyn, you might want to take a pause. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I found when I was in a really bad place, that was actually a very productive thing to do. And that's what I've been actually trying to do, is make myself my own bespoke checklist of kind of how Carolyn works, and in different situations, what's a good kind of go-to, so I don't have to think. That's like one of my favorite things, is to create and edit and update different little checklists. So I'm like, written by me, for me, so I don't have to remember. Like, 'cause my brain is not a computer and I remember nothing. And the more I remember, the less creative I actually can be. Because our brain is meant to be creative. We have computers that can do the thinking, the remembering, the math for us. We just have to know when the computer's broken or recognize that doesn't look right. But I don't know. I think that the net positive is for sure. And so even like, if you look at my social media in COVID, I started just randomly one day sharing through stories. I used to post a lot with my kids, because my siblings lived in California, so they would get upset with me if I didn't post about their babies, about their nieces and nephews. But then it turned into, I just started following, anytime someone would post something positive or inspirational or just really goofy funny, like, my social media is a combination of puppies, babies, hot guys with great abs, ingrown toenails. What else do I have on there? And a lot of inspirational stuff. But anytime someone posts something that I am drawn to and I'm not already following it, I just start following it. So I love, in the same way I love how Pinterest does that with my interior design stuff, I just start creating my own algorithm. And, Facebook or Instagram will send me these ads, and I'm not going to get into a friggin' debate with people, because I don't debate. Just so we're clear, Brian, I will never debate you on anything. I will have an open, honest conversation. I'm not looking to be right. I'm just curious about stuff. Like
I'm
that's
with you.
at the end of the day.
I'm with
You know
you.
what too I find, and it confuses the hell out of my team for sure. And I have to almost preface and remind them 4 times in the midst of conversation. I'm just brainstorming. Like sometimes I need to just hear the words said out loud, like out of my brain to go, do I even believe that? Do I actually feel that way? And often I'm like, I don't know, but that's something that I'm trying to like better understand, just so people know it's something I'm curious about. But social media, I think, is something that it's great to just figure out what are your boundaries with it, whether it's time, whether it's what you're choosing to watch. Okay, so in COVID, I started sharing a lot of stories that were just the inspirational things, and I started getting from random people that I never knew were even looking at it. Because I was just trying to be helpful in some way. This is helping me. Let me share it. And it might help someone else. I don't know. And then I stopped at some point and I was getting these messages from random people that are like, I so look forward to that. Like, is there a reason you stopped? And I'm like, oh. And I didn't feel obligated, but it's just nice to know, like, I'm just helping someone. And for me, like, what's next? I don't know exactly how it comes to be, but that's like my unique gift. I go in rooms and people tell me there's something just about your energy. I keep getting it from all these different groups of people, unsolicited, random, like unexpected. And I'm like, so there's something there. And it's not about me, my ego. How can I be famous or known? I'm like, no, but if I can help to inspire, encourage as many people to positive action, like I've done what I've been created to do. I think that's why I'm here. So
I would like to reiterate what you just said, because I want the audience to hear what you just said, because so many people that I've met who I would say are successful in life, you being one of them, have said that repeatedly to me or on the podcast or in conversation. If you're out there to seek success or fame or to be noticed, it's going to backfire most of the time. And I know, because I tried that, and it backfires. When you really just say, I'm doing this, I want to do this because I want to help one person. Maybe I can make an impact on a small group of people's lives. When you focus on that, you stop chasing the golden eggs and you're focusing on the goose. And that makes all the difference. And I've heard that for 15 years after starting this business, maybe 20, and I didn't believe it. I was chasing the golden eggs all the time, the success, the recognition, whatever it is, love, whatever. And it always eluded me. It always did. Yeah. And then and when I said, okay, I want to do this for the right reasons, and I still fuck up. I messed up a year ago when I started focusing so much on the podcast and how big it was getting that I lost passion for it. Then I shut it down for 3 months because I just said I'm not doing it for the right reasons. And then when you do it for the right reasons and you really want to try to help people, make connections, better someone's life, and it could be even better in your own life. Like, do something good for yourself, take care of yourself more. All of a sudden, those golden eggs start popping up where you least expect them. And so I think that was profound what you said. I want to make sure the audience hears that right there.
Yeah, what you said, that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I do want to talk about this idea of being unapologetic and kind of unfiltered, because the way you explained it at the beginning of the interview here, the conversation, was how I always thought of myself as being unfiltered or whatever. I think we called it radical honesty back in the day, and I would just say about anything to anybody. And there was a badge of honor back then when I was in the corporate world, or when I was with a certain group of American Express back in the day, and I realized 10 years later that it was completely wrong. Like, I was just saying what I want. I get kudos for it. So can you talk about that a little bit? How do you use that how do you carry the title unapologetic and unfiltered?
So it's something I've been told my whole life, not like literally with those words. But I've always just kind of done my own thing. And people will say, you're supposed to do this, or like even at school, my friends are going to apply for these jobs in New York. And I was like, that just doesn't sound exciting to me. So I think for me, it was always resonant resonant to follow what was exciting me.
Okay.
Whether I understood how it would work or what the path was, I was like, I'm just going to try it. And until it's not exciting or doesn't feel authentic to me, like I'm going to just keep doing it. And that's how I got into the career. I mean, I was interviewing, it was American Express Financial at the time. I was like, I don't know anything about this, but like my parents told me I have to get a job. So I'm just going to go start interviewing at places. And I bumped into a friend's sister's husband, and he's like, Carolyn, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me about this job. And it really excited me that they're like, you can have unlimited income and run your own business and work like a dog for like 5 to 8 years and then live the rest of your life like a king and queen. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. And then my friend Pete, he was like, listen, and if you don't like it, he like locked me in his office for an hour and he got some commission for getting me to say yes. But he was, I believe, because he's still in the business too. And I believe what he was saying, he meant that he's like, if you don't like it, you'll be 23 and you'll do something else. And if you do like it and you succeed in it, it will change your whole life. And I was like, that sounds reasonable. Let's go. And my parents were like, this is crazy. You're not going to, you know, what are you doing? You don't even know how this works. And I was like, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
And what I see now is, and it's like pretty fucking wild when you witness in all businesses, when you start to see there's some people that are crazy successful that aren't remotely in the traditional sense smart. They're not necessarily nice or honorable. There's like all different shapes and sizes. So what I think is like really important and necessary is to gauge for yourself, how do you yourself define success in a way that literally lights you up inside? And that changes as your life changes. Like I had very different visions of my future before I was married, before I had kids. Now that I've had a taste of all this stuff, it's like, you know, again, we're talking about the cars. I'm like, I could buy anything I want. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But like, but I do like to have the means that I can do whatever the hell I want when I want. I was very motivated to create a self-managing company, which I did successfully create. That has helped a lot when I needed to step back this summer and take some space to just honor what my family needs as I'm figuring out this next chapter of life. But it's not, it's kind of like even when we talk with clients about the reasons you have different products, in particular, like your insurance. And we talk about with clients with their life insurance, like you may be getting this now for this purpose. And then once you get married, it serves that purpose. And once you have kids and have a house, it's serving that purpose. And then even when the kids are out of the house, it serves a different purpose, but it's the same product. So I think I'd rather have more tools in the toolbox than less, but I don't want to have a tool that's just taking up space and is heavy. And so I'm finding I'm doing like a huge purge of just where I spend time, what I say yes to, because there's so much I do want to say yes to. And when you start to actually look at your calendar, and in COVID, that became really clear. You see, like, your calendar represents what you're prioritizing. Mm-hmm. And we often create our own prisons for ourselves. I remember when the kids were little, I felt like I was supposed to like run the PTO, and I hated it. Me and this other advisor did it, and we would just crush wine and like plan things and then promise ourselves like we will never volunteer for this again. You'll just write the check, like never again. And it's like, but there's someone that loves to do that. So I think, and it's a Dan Sullivanism about talking about your unique ability. He was my first coach in Strategic Coach, which was like really cool to have him as a direct coach.
That's a great program.
It's flipping phenomenal, and introduced me, and I dove in deeper to understand more of just my unique gifts, and none of them really had to do with being a financial advisor. It was more just about being a person that inspires confidence, encourages positive action. And yeah, you do that as an advisor, but that wasn't I'm very good at that, but my unique ability that I could do in my sleep without even paying me is doing it more broadly. So that's when I became inspired to really create my self-managing company, when I understood I had a bigger purpose that I believe is like my God-given like gifts. God, the universe, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. And frankly, I don't even know what I believe anymore. I don't know. But what I knew was that I don't want to do this anymore, which I've been doing for 18 years. But by the way, Carolyn, why are you apologizing about that? Like, who the hell stays in the same job for 40 odd years? And that resonated with clients. And I was like, but I take the promises I've made to you very seriously. And I'm continuing to build out a team of people that are excited to have these conversations and are flipping awesome at them. And frankly, I believe with me and these other positions within our company, I'll be able to make it even better.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff that isn't happening because I'm the person that would do it. Or make it happen and make it real. And what I found was that it just becomes a total win-win-win for everyone. There's no downside. Because you never want someone doing something that they're not excited to do. You're just not going to get as good of a result, or you'll end up feeling bad if you're like, oh, they did that, but they hated doing that. Ugh. So when it comes to unapologetic, it's more about like, what is it that you personally want for yourself? Not, I'm going to be unapologetic of where I want my kid to go to school or what team they make. No. Like when I talk about it, I'm talking about what is it that inside your gut, your heart, your soul, your spirit feels real and alive. And I think often you can figure that out by also seeing the opposite. Yeah. when you witness the opposite and then you take it from that negative to the positive, and often that ends up being your answer. And that also ties back to, for me, I talk a lot about, and I'm actually starting to write about, like your own discovery to your own bespoke core values, not what your teachers, your parents, your church, your friends, your community says is supposed to be important and the most important things to you, but just what is for you, like your compass to help you make good decisions to lead your authentic life. And that said, that doesn't mean fuck everybody else. Right. That's not what that means. And in our team, we talk about having open and honest conversations, but it's candor with care. So pair that with, golden rule, which is another one of my team's values. So open, honest conversations paired with golden rule is candor with care. And that's where I look, I'm trying to continue to be better because I'm not looking to hurt someone in the midst of being honest with myself. But you have one life. And I just think it's a real waste if you live it on someone else's terms. I also think the biggest mistake people make, and Dan Sullivan shared this, is not that your goal is too big, but your time frame is too small. Yeah, is typically the problem.
Well, I like what you said with the candor with care comment, because I think one of the things I tell people is when you associate with other people, whether it's in a team, whether it's a friend group, family, sometimes you can't really pick your family, but when you're picking and choosing who you associate with, because I talk a lot about toxic people and nourishing people and toxic and nourishing behaviors in ourselves as well. And people say, well, how do you determine whether someone's toxic or nourishing? Because a toxic person or behavior can be very, it can be camouflaged very well. And I said, well, think about this. If you have three qualities in a relationship, professional or personal, and if you have these three, number one, the both of you celebrate each other's successes together. You're authentically happy when something good happens to the other. That's number one. So celebrate. Number two, support. Do you support each other when the shit hits the fan? When things aren't going well for one or the other, how supportive are you to each other? And the third one is challenge. How well do you challenge each other when the other person's doing something stupid? And that's kind of that candor, that support and celebrate, or I'm sorry, it's that care that you support and celebrate, but that candor when there's challenges to be made. And I think that's a good way to kind of summarize a pretty damn good, solid personality, candor with care. Because a lot of people have one or the other. Most people have one or the other.
Yes. I think, it really is the extreme. And you see a lot with women, especially the care part, but they don't say what they actually mean. Right. And sometimes they themselves don't even know it. So again, I literally, when I'm very challenged with something, will have a conversation with myself in the mirror. I'll sometimes just talk openly, the free form, to ChatGPT. And I'm like, can you give me a short version of what the hell I'm actually trying to say here? That's been an incredible filter for me. But I think, and then there's the other side that I think we're all pretty aware of, or we witness the like, oh my God, will they shut up? Like they'll just say anything. And
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to think I probably have evolved to more candor with care as opposed to just saying anything. I think that's part of just growing up, or not even growing up. Like I'm seeking to continually be more self-aware. When I think of growth, I think self-awareness is one of the most, like you can't, not you, but anyone. I can't think of something someone would say to me that would surprise me. Even if it's like not a nice thing. Someone could say like, you're really blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, well, screw you, but I know. But it's just about, and in our team, we'll actually say, instead of being just boom awkward, we'll literally say, hey, permission to be open and honest here for a second. Like, I'm going to fumble around here. I don't even know what I'm saying. And it's like, yep, carry on. But it takes a lot of practice with people to build trust, to understand. Like if you witness me and my business partner, Jen, having a meeting, because we're both very passionate, we hold the same values within our company. We have different values as people, but we honor and respect each other's. But if you witnessed us in a meeting, you'd think we're fighting.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and I think that's weird. But we've had so much practice. It didn't start like that. Like we've grown to trust each other, that we understand the other isn't going to take it personally or think it's a low blow, and that takes experiences. For me, I think one of the things that's been helpful when it comes to like your expectation, like, you know, people are disappointed when their expectations or their experience falls below their expectations of something.
Right.
And I think my girlfriend and I were talking about this recently, that there's this nuance between the word, for me, I say the difference between like my people, like, are you my people? Like, you're one of my people. Like, we speak the same language. We understand each other. We're new friends, but it's like,
right.
No. Like, I don't have to, I know I could say anything, and we're going to try to understand one another, and we kind of see the world in a similar way.
Exactly.
But then, there's, I think the word friend is really confusing. And I'm not saying don't use it, but I think there's hundreds of people that we would probably call our friends, or like, we're friendly, blah, blah, blah. But then you go through like shit hitting the fan, and 99% of them you couldn't actually count on. But if you expected to, and that was your expectation, you're going to be greatly disappointed. So one of my verbiage changes with my own core values that I came to, and ChatGPT helped me to kind of come up with some words that resonated, was one of my core values is that my people are my power. Oh. So identifying like who are, like, just like when I'm kind of doing my own filter, like, are they my people? So if someone kind of like lets me down, I'm like, but are they my people? And if they're not, it's like, well, you know, you kind of can't, you just can't hold the same expectation of certain people. In my divorce, in my, you know, miscarrying a baby, and just like crappy life experiences. It's also important to just identify like what you do and should or shouldn't necessarily expect of people, or what's your own personal measure of that.
I like one of the things I did, I don't know how many years ago, 5-6 years ago, maybe, is I'm a big fan of the food versus poison, nourishing versus toxic. I do a lot of coaching on the subject. I have for 28 years now. And I never thought, well, here's how it worked. I have a group of friends. I did. And one of my friends who's kind of in that group, but really was more of an on the fringe of the group more, but he and I are super close. We think alike. We have a lot of really in-depth conversations. And he said, I don't understand. You talk about this food. It must have been in the last 4 years because I did a podcast on it. So it must have been since I've started the podcast. You talk about food and poison, Brian, and how it's important to make sure you're surrounding yourself with nourishing people and you yourself are nourishing. Yet you accept this behavior in your life. Mm-hmm. So what I did is, I guess it must have been 3.5, 4 years ago, I put together, and I carry it with me in my binder that I carry everywhere I go, a list of 3 columns: nourishing / food, question mark in the middle, and toxic / poison. And I literally have the list of the nourishing people in my life. I have a list of people I don't know yet. Like I don't know people well enough, or sometimes they kind of vacillate. And then I have a list of toxic people. And it's based on experience and the years of experience. Really, it's based on when I walk away from them in a conversation or a text or face to face or whatever, phone call. How do I feel? Do I feel like a better person or a lesser person? And and what I do now is I only connect proactively with the nourishing people. And what I have found in doing that is, number one, the relationships have just solidified. And I've met more people like that because now I only accept that type in my life. And I don't mean that I'm going to shun people if they don't meet a certain criteria. It's more just where I'm going to allocate my resources, which is my time and energy.
With your time.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Well, and that's where I think there's just so many things people do out of obligation. Even, in financial services, there's these different conferences. And sometimes I'm just like, why am I going to this? And I finally just started saying no. Or there's certain groups that people would ask me to be in. And I'm like, I hate to sound like so selfish, but I'm like, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of this. Right. Like, I know what I can bring to it, but no, I don't think that sounds exciting. And again, I just use the simple barometer of like, does this sound exciting?
That's a good one.
And if it doesn't, I'm just like, no, thanks. I don't think it's a good fit. Someone asked me recently to be on it was some finance committee in our town, and they're like, it's a good service and you would be so great at it. I'm like, I'm sure, but it doesn't sound that fun to me. And the guy said, well, don't you sometimes have to do things you don't like? And I'm like, no. No. I'm like, no. I've actually created an experience that I don't, because there's someone, Dan Sullivanism, that loves doing the thing that you hate. So why the hell would you continue doing the thing you hate? Like, frankly, it's kind of selfish because there's someone that really actually wants to do that thing. So let them do it. Go find them. That's your job. Go find them. Not how.
Do you think that holds true when you're younger in a career? Because when you were talking, I remember doing cold calling out of the yellow pages and the white pages back in the day. I hated every second of that. I'm glad I did it because it gave me some thick skin. But I think there's a point where you start to pay every year you pay more dues, so to speak, into the universe. And it's like at a certain point, it's like, it's not interesting what you said, exciting or interesting. No way, man. It's not worth it. One thing I'm known for is, and it pisses people off, and it's not a good quality, but I don't commit to anything. I really don't. I'm very non-committal.
Oh my God, I'm the same. It's like tentative.
Yeah.
Tentative.
Like, don't invite me to a wedding 6 months in advance because I'll decide the week of. And if I said yes, I still might not show up. I might not go to a graduation, even though I said yes 6 months. So I just stop saying yes. I don't RSVP for anything, unless it's immediate family, of course. I don't say yes. And would you want to do something Friday? Check with me Friday, because I don't know how I'm going to feel.
Yeah, but that's also where it depends on the level of your people.
Right, exactly.
So one of my best friggin' friends, and who I haven't seen, I'm like, yes, I don't care what the hell we're doing. Like, we have that date in common. Yes, we're just going to do something. I don't care. But I just got back from Jackson Hole with 2 girlfriends, and 2 of them had never met before, and I connected them as girlfriends. It was so funny because we've been on this chat for 6 months and whatever. It was hilarious because I was like, oh, right, you guys have never met. But we, the first night, just made a list of this sounds fun. And then just throughout the weekend, and, between the 3 of us, there's 5 kids that we didn't have. So anything when you don't have your kids with you, it's just easier. So we were like, let's just wing it. We can never do this. But also, for me, it's such a gift to be able to practice spontaneity, because I feel like that got lost as life went on. Or the more I said yes to things, there was less free time to even have the ability to say yes without canceling on someone last minute. So it's also nice, I find, to not overcommit, because you leave no room for spontaneity and adventure. And I started missing that, and it was my own fault. Again, we create our own prisons. It's generally our own fault. But getting back to that earlier in your career, I think it's a huge disservice to yourself to think that you just know yourself. I'm like, listen, 22-year-old, you friggin' don't. Because what you studied in school and what you actually do in your job and or in your entrepreneurial endeavor, and you're creating something for yourself, and every person that you work for or team that you work in, an office that you're in is going to be apples and oranges. So like, until you've had enough experiences, like it doesn't even make sense. And frankly, I think like some of the best times I've learned what I liked was, again, from trial and error and learning what I didn't like. Like I remember in college, I did a internship for this event company because I loved going to parties. So maybe I'll love planning parties. Well, come to find out, I love to attend. I hate to plan.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good data.
I've lost a couple of girlfriends because I'm a bad planner and a non-committer of events. So, all right. It is what it is.
And it's just figuring out like what is it doesn't have to be all or none. I'm a very all or none person.
Yeah.
I'm not judging it. I'm very much that, but it's just figuring out what matters and what doesn't. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not about getting it perfect. Like you may have your ideal work week and your ideal work plan, but it's what are the things that have to happen no matter what, and just make sure that happens and you can't screw it up. Like that's it. That's like the only thing that actually matters. And then when you have a great week, you can refer to your ideal. So especially when I've been feeling kind of junky in the last year, I'm just clear of what has to happen no matter what. Let me make sure to do that. Give myself some grace. The dog has been flipping great because it's like, you need to take some walks, Carolyn. The dog needs to walk, or, it's your fault when he pees on the floor because you didn't take the thing out for 4 hours and he's a puppy. Right. But that has just calmed my nervous system. Oh my God. And I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it's like, figure out what works for you, like your own little formula. And when something's really exciting, like don't ignore it, like create space for it. It's just like when I moved to a much smaller place. It's a silly analogy, but it's, or if you have a smaller handbag, like you have to make some decisions. If you have a huge bag or you are traveling in your car versus an airplane, you can throw more shit in the car than you know what to do with. But when you have just a carry-on, you're only going to bring the essentials and or the things that you really love. And what you quickly find out is like you have way more crap than you need. And you say yes to way more things than you actually want to. And there's actually a lot fewer people that really light you up inside, and just focus on the good. Like don't let the bad things, the bad experiences, the bad people, the bad 10 seconds of your day like consume all of the otherwise good things. And that doesn't mean you have to be like toxic positivity, convincing yourself otherwise, but it's like, no, focus on what is good. And that's actually how we kick off every team meeting. That's how I try to start conversation with my kids of what happened to me that was good or like fun or what's just good in life. Sometimes it's as simple as, and it gives you so much information about people when they either have something to celebrate that they're really psyched to celebrate and share. And sometimes you'll find that they have a really hard time finding something, and that in itself gives you a lot of information of like just how you can support them or that you may want to keep an eye on them. So yeah.
I heard a thing that you would relate to. I've heard this a few times in the last few months. I haven't used it yet though. Is never say how are you when you're talking with somebody. Ask them what exciting thing are you working on in your life. Mm-hmm. Wholly different. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's got to work because how are you? Good. How are you? Good. Family's growing. Yep. My family's getting, you get to the bullshit stuff that nobody cares about. Weather, baseball, basketball, football, whatever. That right there ignites a spirit. It ignites the soul when somebody is thinking, what exciting thing am I working on? Then maybe they talk about their family. Maybe like myself, who just had his 5th grandchild last Friday. I shout out to little Otto, born at 12/22 last Friday. But so that is what's exciting right now. So that would be my answer right now. But it doesn't. It gives that person an opportunity to really think what's because exciting usually means positive. You're not going to say exciting in my life. Well, I'm going through a divorce. No, you're probably going to bypass that statement. You're going to say, well, I'm working the business. We're working on these new cool things in the business or whatever. I just took a trip to where'd you go? Jackson Hole. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you run into an avalanche, by the way?
No, but I was wearing
safe.
Fluorescent, or I was safe. I had my fluorescent orange puppy outfit and boots, and I worked the dog park today, and my ladies of the field were like, okay, you have arrived.
You have definitely arrived. That stands out, man.
Yep, but I will not be lost in an avalanche.
No, you won't. You know what? I saw your
Loved or hated, never ignored, Brian.
That's that might be the title for our podcast. I want to comment on I pulled up on my iPad. I have it here. Your meme that you posted today on, I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram. I don't know. Maybe it was your story. And it said, my 5-year plan, live so fully that my future self never has to wonder, what if?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, that's good. That kind of sums you up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something, I have to keep reminding myself too. And I think it's, as much as there's all this stuff I'm excited about, there's then this balance of you'll speed up if you slow down a little bit. And it's so counterintuitive, but the more I've leaned into that, you can just be more intentional and present to that voice that's inside of you that's saying like, yes, or like, no. Like, I know you think it might be a good idea, but, and you have the answer. Like, you have the answer. So there's a trip with my crazy Wayfinders people that I went to Laos last year for 2 weeks. And coming up, I was signed up for a trip to Patagonia. And, it's my kids. It's their first holidays with all this cluster of divorce stuff. And I'm the house that's not as familiar for them. And just trying to come up with structure with my soon-to-be ex. And it was just clunky. And in my gut, I was like, I don't know if I should go. And no one was saying this to me, but it kept coming at me. And once I made a decision, I was just at peace. I was like, oh, like it was already there. I just wasn't giving it any space. I stopped drinking. I think I told you this. I stopped drinking 4 years ago. Yeah. And thankfully it was my idea, but my business partner was like, Carolyn, I was about to say something to you. I would have been so pissed if it was someone else's idea. It had to be my idea. But it was something that had been bothering me for years. And I had been curious about what would life be like? Because that was part of my identity. Was drinking. A big thing was just the habit. Yes. But once I made a decision, and when you 100% commit to anything, it's easy because your decision has been made. Yes. There's nothing else to think about. So whether it's, some people, they're runners and you look at them and you're like, look at these crazy people. They get up at 5 o'clock every morning and they run like 10 miles, but they don't think about it. It's not like, oh, I don't know if today I'm going to do it. It's just what they do. Other people, again, just some things that you're not going to do. Or like for me, it was drinking. And once I stopped and people were like, do you miss it? Honestly, no. I still do the same crazy stuff. I'm still as insane as I was when I was drunk. But now I'm not going to get in trouble when I'm driving. And I can drive you too. You're welcome. I just saved you your Uber fare.
I went out with my son and his friends 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. Well, I went to his house to watch the Michigan football game. We couldn't get it on his projection in his garage, so we're like, let's just go to the bar. We'll watch it. And I drank. I was here at noon. We ended up coming home around 10, and then his friends kind of followed us home, and then I ended up going to bed. So for 10 hours, I drank. I think it was at least 14, probably 15 non-alcoholic beers. Those, I forget what they're called.
I thought you were saying you were drinking, and I was like, Brian, you sure you want to say this in your podcast?
Oh, I would talk about it if it was beer.
I'm like,
oh my God.
Where are we going with
but
this?
What I learned, though, was I had a lot of fun. Like, it was fun. Like, I felt good. Obviously, the next day I got up early. I went for a walk, and then I came back and I went for a hike later on. I mean, I felt great. But it was like, no, I don't miss it. But I've only been a couple, but I mean, I'm not like totally done drinking. I don't think. I mean, I'll have a few beers here and there, I'm sure. I did after my grandson was born because the middle name is named after me. So, I had a little celebration, but I'm like, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel natural anymore.
And to each his own. It's like whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Like if I could, and I tried for me because I really enjoyed it. I love being buzzed, being drunk. I love it. But I can't just have 2 drinks. And I don't even really feel much after 2 drinks. So it just quickly goes from all to none or none to all. And I'm like, so I found another filter that I really love when I'm stuck. I try to come up with simple things to fall back on. And it was originally my brother that introduced it to me he was talking about it more in the context of from marketing and your messaging, like, might it be helpful or may it be harmful? And so I started to just think about different decisions I made. And by no means does this mean, or am I trying to suggest I make the perfect decisions? It's more of like, how can I be more intentional? And that's where I started just thinking, might this be helpful or may it be harmful? And with booze, I'm like, for me, never is this helpful. No. Like, never have I ever done something better when I'm drunk, and I just take it to another level. So it just doesn't serve me. It doesn't work for me. But the cool thing was it doesn't, oftentimes people associate giving something up with giving something up. And I'm like, no. Uh-huh. Like, I gained so much, including not risking relationships, like possible dangerous situations. I should be dead. Like the dumb stuff we do in college, never mind beyond. And like, as our professional career really took off, my business partner, when she was almost going to bring it to me, she's like, you could blow up the whole thing for doing something really stupid. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's what makes successful people successful, is that kind of that edgy mentality, and it can be used for a lot of good, but it can also, you can create a dark side that can really be damaging.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's just like one bad thing, and never am I giving up some great opportunity. Like, in fact, like it's more acceptable if I want to do something really late and I was out at some crazy, like, what am I, like 22, going out at this industrial party in the middle of Toronto till 4 a.m. I'm like, who am I? But I'm dead sober. So I'm like, ugh. Whereas if I'm shit-faced, like, that's a really dangerous situation to put myself in.
It really is. It really is. I think it's a little more dangerous for women.
For sure.
But
in our business, and to be fair, in our business, like it stinks. But part of my message to younger women sometimes, I'm like, it sends a message if you're out at certain hours, and you can say it's unfair or whatever, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I'm like, honestly, if you're sober, you're just going to be tired and you'll want to go to bed. Yeah. So you won't want to be out anyways. But I can't believe the stuff I used to do. And I was able to do it, but everything is clear for me. And I feel things more. I found that I was probably using drinking at a certain point for numbing of a lot of things I didn't want to feel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, when you stop and I used the phrase earlier, which was a phrase of my good friend Kevin in college, and he and I were on the same team together. We were also roommates, and we would pedal our bikes to this thing called I think it was called the Dams or something. It was a kind of some rapids, and I remember one time him sitting out there, and he and I were both pretty crazy on the team, and I was kind of a violent guy. He wasn't, but we both got crazy at parties and stuff. And he said, you and I are running so fast in our younger life here in college because, and his quote was, we're afraid if we stop, the stench of our lives will catch up with us. And I always carried that quote. I used it earlier at the beginning of our conversation. I think that, and I think that's where alcohol comes in for a lot of people. You don't have to let the stench of life catch up to you. Even if it does, you don't notice it, you don't sense it. But when you sit there and sit in it and kind of wallow in it a little bit, then maybe even relish in it later on, you realize, okay, this isn't so bad. And then all of a sudden, there's a turning point. I told a friend of mine who drinks quite often, I said, if you just go 3 days without alcohol, the third day, things look prettier. Their colors are more vibrant. And it literally happened. And because I'd go long periods without drinking, and then I'd go a week and I'd have several drinks, and I'd go another few weeks. I did that, and I'd say a third day, by like Tuesday, I feel great. Like I'm colors are prettier. I can smell better. I feel great in the morning. I'm more productive. I'm like, why am I not?
You literally sleep in ways that you physiologically aren't capable of sleeping when alcohol's in your system.
No.
There's so many reasons.
Because it processes the sugar later on in the night, and that's when you wake up.
All the things. But honestly, how I ended up finally getting to it was in the midst of, it was 2021. It's year 2 of COVID. And that year, because my husband and I are just freaking crazy, and we had done 8 real estate transactions, including 2 reverse 1031 exchanges, bought a financial advice practice. We had gut renovated our house. We had moved 5 times. I was like, oh boy. And I was looking at it and I'm going, there's no room for error. We can't mess any of this up. And it was 24/7. And so even we were talking before from a positive sense of how do we create room for good? It was I don't have time to be hungover, sleep deprived, drinking like an asshole when I should be hanging out with my kids or sleeping, or I don't know, or doing one of these real estate transactions that I can't delegate to someone else. And it was like, no, I just by, process of elimination was like, this doesn't fit. But also recognizing you've been kind of annoyed about this for a while, Carolyn, maybe. And it was funny. I initially was like, that's it. I'm done with drinking. And I'd read this book that was excellent for women, especially This Naked Mind.
I read that. Yeah. I listened to that on audio like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Me too. And she kept talking, and I'm like, oh, damn it, that's what I do too. I know. I'm like, you're going to try for a month, or you're going to make rules. And one of my rules was like, okay, Tim, one of my rules, I saw my husband, I'm like, so one of my rules is I can't drink alone, and the kids don't count. So, and then I'd be like, so could we have a glass of wine? He's like, I don't really want to drink today. I'm like, but don't you want a glass of wine? He's like, okay. Because I couldn't be drinking by myself. And, but you make all these rules and they're stupid. And finally it's like, this is exhausting. Like, this is stupid. What am I doing? So then I realized after a week, like, oh, I haven't drank for a week. I think I'm done. And I told one of my friends, I said, I'm done forever. And she's like, well, Carolyn, that's extreme. What if you just decide to quit for the quarter and see how it goes? I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then after the quarter, I was like, why would I go back? Like, I don't miss it. This is stupid.
You don't hear of anybody who quit drinking. My brother quit cold turkey, I'm going to say 13 years ago, and he was a heavy drinker. And he quit, and I have just been able, he's my older brother by 10 years, and I've just watched him become the man he always was when he was younger, and the man he was always destined to be as a fiance, as a father, as a grandfather, as a son, as a brother to me, as an uncle, just as a business person. He's just a completely different human being. It's a big inspiration for a lot of people just to watch. He just stopped one day. And I really didn't think he'd be able to. He just said, no, I'm done. And
we're talking about alcohol right now, but I think this is like a great inventory for people to take for themselves of what is something I'm doing that's it's just an honest question that you can just ask yourself. You don't have to talk about it out loud, of just what is something I'm maybe doing that I don't realize has become a habit that's kind of captured me. That's something that probably isn't actually serving me. So that helpful, harmful, it's actually not helpful. It might be harmful, even if it isn't everyday harmful. And sometimes that's overworking. Sometimes it's overworking out. Just you're obsessed with. Is there something you're obsessed with? It could be social media. And again, I'm not saying it from a place of judgment. I find that I just constantly use this filter, and it helps me call me out on my own shit when I'm finally ready to do something about it. Because sometimes you're just not ready. And that's okay.
Right.
But I find if I keep coming back to these between knowing my core values, knowing my people, because my people are who I listen to. Because I know, to your point, they give a shit about my success and my happiness and they're cheering me on and they want to help me and they know I'll do the same for them. So I know when I hear it from them, there's no filter.
Right.
So, just these little rules of thumb that it's not I read it and it just made sense. It's as life went on, I just found these little tools in my toolbox that I keep coming back to. But the biggest thing for me, for sure, has been my own discovery to my core values, because then I know it's authentic to me. It's not someone else told me it's what you're supposed to do. I'm like, no, I know when I am living in this way, I feel alive and human and one. I feel present and feel like this is why I was created, to be doing this.
Your highest level, your highest potential. I call it the true peak identity. And I do want to, before we wrap up, I'm going to talk to the audience directly of what Carolyn just said is so crucial. Your, whatever you might be holding on to isn't serving you right now. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's addiction to exercise, maybe it's a food addiction. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, take a good look at that. Give yourself a good self-audit and ask yourself, is this currently serving my highest potential? Because And sometimes the thing that destroys us most is the thing we did yesterday that actually worked for us yesterday. They could be things that really were good for you at one point in time and no longer are. So don't take the word alcohol out of our conversation if that's not your vice or your challenge, and put anything in there. It could be love. It could be, the obsession. I mean, it could be dependency, so. All right, my friend, give us one last nugget, because you've just I stopped taking notes because I'm going to go back and listen. I'm going to print out the transcripts is what I'm going to do after I listen to it again. What's a good nugget you want to leave the Bamboo Pack with?
Oh, man. Something new.
Said I could ask you anything.
I know. Shoot. Let's think. I mean, I keep coming back to so much. I'll say it again. I tattooed it on my arm so I can't escape it. Know what it is that you want to be, that you are, not you want to be, that you just are unapologetic about, like that you want for yourself, that you desire, that you don't deny yourself your dream and your real human desire, whether it's in relationships, in your work, and where you live and how you spend your time. It doesn't mean you are or aren't entitled to it or deserving or undeserving, but know what the heck it is that's really important to you, because it's going to be your guiding light of how you start to make other decisions, goals, etc., that are authentic to you. And as you get more clarity, start sharing it with your people. They're going to give you different ideas, resources, introductions. Don't try to do it all yourself. But the first step is with just asking yourself the questions. Sometimes it's in the mirror, ChatGPT, your journal, whatever it is. It's a lot of the stuff that since you've been a little kid that you've just been that maybe you forgot in the shooting of adulthood that everyone else has been telling you to do. And I think that's a huge part that comes as people start to approach the second mountain of their life, that they've had this incredible financial success and accolades, et cetera. It's in the second mountain, it's you start to realize I haven't even really started my real life yet. I feel a lot like a teenager right now.
Yeah. I get that 100%.
Which is really refreshing, also kind of scary, but it's I'm a teenager, but I actually have money and I kind of know some stuff
wisdom.
now.
Yeah. You got some experience behind you and some wisdom.
And so do my people. And, so I think that's my best takeaway I can give to anyone in any context, because it applies to your life, your business, you name it.
I think it's the perfect last little nugget. And I got to tell you,
I knew I liked you. I'm perfect, Brian. I know.
You're awesome, man. You are. I'm so glad we were developing
I know, this is so
friendship.
fun. I'm so happy I reached out to you.
And that's the thing I like when I can tell if a podcast is doing well is, am I having fun? Am I enjoying this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true 99% of the time. The podcast does well if it's an authentic conversation between two people who are just who have some experience behind them, some wisdom, some road behind them, but are still always looking for what's next. What can we do better? How can we serve others? How can we make connections? I mean, whatever it is. So, hey, can you stay on a little bit after we wrap up?
It's for another day. I have to say, it's for another day, but I can't stress enough. There's so many of our friends, our colleagues, people we know, and they're just podcast junkies, but they listen. If you don't execute something, it doesn't matter how much you listen to it. Right. So you got to do something and start with one thing.
It's like every book you read, every podcast, or every speech you hear or watch, every talk, TED Talk. Just take one thing out of it and write it down. Put a little journal and okay, I got this out of that. I mean, I read a lot of books, and there's some books I get one lesson or one learning out of, but it's worth it. It's one thing that I may or may not use, but I'll try to implement and see if it works. So.
Yep, trial and error.
All right, my friend, can you stay on for a few minutes after we wrap up?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. All right, I can't say this enough. I mean, I really enjoyed this, Carolyn. I know you're busy, and I'm so grateful when I asked you in our virtual coffee, if you'd come on, and you said yes right away. So it's been an honor, and I'm so looking forward to continuing to get to know you and developing this friendship, because you are one of my people.
We're each other's people. We stick together.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. I mean, I'm going to ask you, I know this podcast is going to strike a lot of people in a very positive way. So I'd like you to do this. I'd like you to listen to it. And then I'd like you to share it with 3 people, please. And smash that like button. Please rate and review us. Tell me how I'm doing. Let me know if I'm sucking or if I'm doing well on this and what I can improve on. I might not listen, but I probably might not even read it. But no, I shouldn't say that. I will read it. And again, thank you for tuning in. I know everybody out there is busy. We appreciate the time you've given to us. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. In the meantime, please get out there and strive to give and be your best. Show love and respect to others, but bring it on to yourself as well. And please, by all means, live intentionally with purpose. Until next time.